Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of Too Late. Alright, cast and crew information down below. And let's start off with the IMDb plot here. A lonely assistant finally finds love and must escape monster of a boss before she and her new love become his next meal. Next meal, huh? Alright. So, this is a horror comedy, and interestingly enough, very much a comedy because it's kind of based, or the setting here for most of this is in a comedy show, or in two different comedy shows. One, a bigger show, and then more of kind of one of those open mic night kind of things to kind of judge talent. So, you have two different kind of stages here, and it's all about comedy, about comedians and so forth. Before I kind of get a little bit further into that, I believe this one is on Amazon. I believe that where I might have caught that. As usual, I see things everywhere, so but I believe this one is on Amazon if you are interested at the end of the day to catch this. And it is a newer movie, so I'll try to be as spoiler free as I can. So again, we have a set two stages, and that's kind of the setting here. There are some other places it does travel, but those are the main places, are the two stages. And basically you have here, let me make sure, Violet is an assistant here, and you kind of get that vibe that she's happy at some points of being the assistant, but she wouldn't mind being on stage herself, or at least coming out of the shadow, but she is kind of stuck where she is for now. And where she is basically judging talent, and she's looking for comedians, looking at good ones to kind of move to the bigger stage here and to the bigger show, where she works as the main assistant under a bigger comedian. And I'll get to him in a second. So Violet is basically there, and kind of holding this event in a smaller kind of bar or stage setting, and having these comedians go on stage and perform, and if they are valued and so forth, and they get a good response, she will then move them and on to the bigger stage, and in hopes of meeting Bob, of course. Bob is the lead comedian here. He's the big timer. He's the one that is Violet's boss here, and interestingly enough here, in almost a comedic way, his name is Bob DeVore, and as this kind of unfolds, you might watch the opening, and then kind of as this goes on, you're kind of wondering, this is a lot about comedy and comedy shows. Where's the horror in this? Well, you're gonna find out shortly or soon enough that Bob is kind of looking for top notch talent, not only to perform on stage, but to eat backstage. He eats them, and I guess you got Bob DeVore, or to devour, because that's basically what he does. I guess, and the fun of it and the horror of it, I mean, that's obviously what we're here to see. It's a little bit of a shame that and I guess, say what you will, it's a hard thing to do, and it would have been a hard thing to show. You wish they might have shown that a little bit more. I guess that is not a big complaint. It just, me being the blood and guts guy, I would have wanted to see, but once you see kind of the movie roll on and how it goes, I guess it's not all about that. I mean, it is obviously the horror of the movie, but this movie's not a blood and guts kind of movie per se. It does have like I said, I want to be spoiler free, but it does have a big surprise later on that might make up for this not showing too much early on. You obviously want a big final act here, and I think if you're sitting there and you're kind of wondering, why aren't we seeing more of this eating, they do kind of make up for that in the end. I mean, whether they make up for it totally, that's going to be everybody's decision to make if you watch this. But in my eyes, that they made up for it enough. It was not what I expected that to happen, or at least not in that manner. Again, being spoiler free, but going back, we're way ahead. We've moved to the end of the movie. Let's move backwards here. So you kind of have Violet. She's kind of going along with it and whatever. And, it is a thing. She's the only two people who know is Violet and Bob know what's going on. Everybody else thinks that it's just comedy acts going on, and you're going to be introduced to a couple of her other friends, other people, other comedians that kind of approach her, want to get on the show, and she finally meets a comedian, and she not only finds him funny, but she kind of falls for him. That was not her intention, but she does, and but unfortunately he's also a good comedian. So as much as she tries to hold him from going to the big show, Bob actually ends up seeing him perform, and that kind of makes the decision to bring him to the big stage. And once you're kind of known as a good comedian, you're going to be in line to be eaten, and that's what Bob is going to expect here. So, and I don't think that spoils too much. I mean, it kind of says that in the IMDb plot. I guess what's going to have to where it kind of goes is the decision that's going to be made. What is Violet going to do? Is she going to betray Bob? Is she going to save her love interest here? How does this unfold? And I guess that's what's kind of left to see. Like I said, I like the ending. I didn't kind of certain things you might expect to happen in the and you might kind of guess it's going to happen, but I guess the way it kind of plays out, you probably are not going to guess. I thought it was interesting that he's eating comedians, and he is a comedian amongst a monster creature. I was kind of going back and forth as I'm watching him. I'm like, at first I thought, when they first kind of pulled this trick, and you kind of like, oh, he's eating them. At first I kind of thought maybe he was a vampire, but then once he's actually eating them, I'm like, okay, is he just a cannibal? But no, he's just some kind of monster. I mean, there's some hint that maybe he was even a werewolf, because I think there was mention of either the moon or being at night or whatever. But I think, and I could be wrong. Maybe, I haven't done any reading on this movie, or I don't know if he is officially anything other than just some kind of monster out there that they've created. Obviously, he looks just like a normal guy until he goes into kind of eating mode there, and he does devour. I mean, he's eating the entire person. I mean, the entire person is just gone, and they kind of play with the funniness of that, because he's like very full and he's stuffed, and you're more often to see him kind of after he's eaten or right afterwards. So you can kind of see how that kind of plays on him. But as I was going to say a minute ago, what I found interesting is they always say you are what you eat. And in this case, he is a comedian, and he is eating comedians. So he truly is what he is eating. And I didn't gather, and I don't, unless I missed it, I don't think they made a point of it. I don't think that eating the comedians made him any better of a comedian. I think that that's just kind of his disguise in this world, and that's kind of his jig and his setup here, to have these performances go on and have comedians perform, and then decide to eat the best one, or whoever he deems to have liked. And I guess he the more humorous you are, the better you taste, or whatever. I don't know. There might have been some specifics, either I missed or they just didn't go into. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it there. Again, I don't think I've spoiled anything. The plot of IMDb kind of tells you where this is going to go, and it's just decisions to be made. I definitely say the ending is worth checking out. I mean, even if you're kind of like me and you're kind of like, oh man, why aren't they showing him eat more? And that would have been fun to see. At the end, I think they're gonna make up for it, and I like the way that the movie left off. I like the ending, and I guess the other kind of reason I wanted to kind of point this movie out is the performance, and let me get her name correctly here if I can. I'm gonna butcher this one, but Alyssa Limperis, I think. I apologize if I say that wrong, but she stars as Violet, and she really does a terrific job here. I think she just gets better as the movie kind of goes on, and as kind of Violet's character kind of changes, and maybe kind of goes from kind of being like, oh, I'm stuck in the same place, to, oh look, I found someone I like, to now I have a decision to make, and then what am I going to do next? And then obviously with some of the things that happen after that, I don't want to give it away, but again, I thought she performed very well, and I think some of the other casts as well. I think there's going to be a couple of faces that are in there. I want you to kind of look up the movie and kind of see. There will be a couple other faces you will recognize that played roles in this movie. Some bigger than not. But maybe you'd expect them to be in a movie about comedians. Maybe you wouldn't. But there are going to be a couple of faces that you may recognize in this movie as well. But yeah, the acting overall is good. But particularly, again, her name is Alyssa. I really liked her performance as well. So just wanted to make sure I noted that as well. So with that, I think I'm going to give this one 3 pools of blood. I think as it starts, this is another one that I kind of knew nothing about, kind of came across it, and just said, the cover, I think the cover of the poster kind of looked interesting, and it was titled Too Late, which doesn't really scream horror. There's nothing that screams too much horror in that title. But the poster looked kind of fresh and lively there, and a little bit of an interesting contrast. So I was like, okay. It's one of those ones I took a gamble on, and I'm glad I watched it at the end. Unfortunately, like I said, I've tried to go through as many as I can lately. Particularly the newer movies, and some honestly I've turned off. I hate doing it. I love to kind of give everything a chance, but because there's so much out there, so much to watch, and then I get screeners on top of things, if I'm just not going along with the movie, I have to turn it off and move on. Especially when I'm expected to do reviews for other things. It's all a time management thing. I mean, I would love to give all these movies the full chance, but I can't. Anyway, I'm drifting too far off the point here. So yeah, 3 Pools of Blood for this one. That again is out of 5. I believe this one is on Amazon, but as always, Google it. You can probably find it in a couple of other places. But definitely, I think turn it on. You enjoy the comedy. I don't think any of it was too over the top or too ridiculous. I thought it was kind of on point. I don't think they tried to overdo it with the comedy. I mean, there was comedy acts that kind of make you sit through a little bit of that. But I think it was amusing and gave you a couple of things to laugh at, but never took it too far away that you thought it was like so much of a comedy and not the horror. So give it a try. Let it roll and let it kind of get you to that horror part and kind of get you sucked in, and then definitely wait to the end. I'm not going to say we've never seen anything like that before, but it is a fun ending and way to go. So yeah, 3 Pools of Blood, and as always, horrorsgoryreviews.blogspot.com is where you can find more of these reviews. The video reviews are there, but I have written ones as well. Check those out. Even if you're just checking them out for the scores that I give them, that's fine. I don't mind. Even if you fast forward to the end to find the score of this one, really don't mind. As long as you're kind of getting introduced to these names and kind of telling whether you should watch them or not. So yeah, Twitter, Facebook information down below. Reach out to me there. We can talk about this movie, other movies. Always available to talk about horror if you want. If you have something you want me to review, you can reach out to me there as well. We can see if we can arrange that. Like I said, I try, but try to review as much as possible, but can't review everything in the world. So yeah, and in the comment section, if you've seen this movie and you want to make a comment about it there, please do, or comment on this video. That's fine as well. So with that, I've probably gone way too late on this blabbing on, so I will catch you on the next review, horror fans.